Hi there, my name is Sarah Jane Chapman. We're going to do a tarot reading today on this lunar eclipse in Virgo and simultaneously this Mercury retrograde. We're going to be using a tarot deck that I co-created called Be With Your Body Tarot. And this is a therapeutic tarot deck to help people find peace with themselves just as they are. So let's get into it. So before we get started, let's just take a moment. This is called Be With Your Body. Get into yourself so you can feel a little bit more grounded. So literally like shake your arms out, shake your head out, place your hands on your heart, feel the support of whatever you are sitting, lying, standing, whatever you are supported by, feel that support. And let's take 3 deep breaths. Feel your chest and heart expand. Exhale, settle into your body. 2 more breaths like that. Now let's get into the reading. First, I pulled a couple cards that represent the energy of this full moon or this full moon lunar eclipse. And there's always a card in the major arcana and sometimes in the court cards that represent the planet or sign in astrology. So the card that represents Virgo is the Hermit. And this is also the collective tarot card for 2025. And so for me, this lunar eclipse feels really significant for like the overall theme of this year. The Hermit represents taking a little bit of time away from the external noise, the external information, and like really tuning into your own inner wisdom. So that's where the moon is. And then the sun is in Pisces, and that is represented by the card, the moon, which is a little confusing, right? Because you would think that the moon would represent the moon, but the high priestess actually represents the moon. And the moon is about being in the unknown. So we are listening to ourselves, we are nurturing and finding curiosity within ourselves. And we're also sitting in this in-between place. And you may already notice that there's a lot of kind of shifts and unexpected energy that's coming in. And you might have already been asked to kind of sit with this like in-between energy. And that might be a little bit uncomfortable. And that makes a lot of sense. The third card I wanted to pull before we get into the full spread is the card that represents Mercury, since we are in a Mercury retrograde, starting with this lunar eclipse. And that is the Magician. The Magician is a reminder that you have so much magic inside of you. You have all of the tools that you need to heal. So keeping these 3 themes in mind, the tuning into your own self, the sitting in the unknown, and knowing that within yourself, you have all the tools that you need, and maybe resourcing some of those tools. So we're going to shuffle and see what cards come up for us in this lunar eclipse in Virgo. At the center of the reading, we have the Emperor. And I call the Emperor and the Empress 2 of the inner loving parents inside of tarot. So these are parts of ourselves that remind us to care for ourselves. And the Emperor very specifically reminds us to find some structure and support in our lives so that we can feel safe. So I almost wonder, like, I feel like we're in this Pisces season. We're already in a Venus retrograde. There's a lot of like shifting, kind of topsy-turvy, again, unknown energy that's coming up, and you may feel ungrounded, and that would be very understandable. And so what are some very simple daily habits that you can do to feel a little bit more grounded in yourself so that you can like make the next right choice? That is crossed by the 6 of feet or the 6 of pentacles, if you're familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith. And this represents finding generosity. And so we can look at this in a couple ways, right? So this could be generosity, like looking for opportunities to be generous with other people. And this could be, yes, financially, sure, why not? But also, just generous with like, maybe they're just trying their best, or generous with like, giving people time or giving people attention or whatever. Like, how can you find generosity? How can you also find generosity with yourself? I'm doing the best that I can with the situation at hand. How can I offer myself a little bit more space, especially while I am building structure and little bits of support within my life? Okay, so top of mind, this is what's happening in our minds and in our brains. We have the Three of Eyes or the Three of Swords, if you're familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith. This is about grief. You might be having a lot of grief at the top of your mind right now. And it may be hard to even pinpoint exactly where that grief comes from. And maybe you know exactly where the grief comes from. But maybe again, with this kind of overall theme of like being in the unknown, like you're feeling sadness and you're feeling grief, and it could be a million things. And it's hard to even pull at the thread of what could unravel if you start to address this grief. And that is maybe going to be a theme for this full moon. In your heart, we have the Seven of Hips reversed. This is like Seven of Cups. Um, this could be a little delusional, right? There could be a little bit like, my heart wants this, my heart wants that. And it may also feel really ungrounded. So your mind needs to process and release something, and your heart is having a hard time kind of grasping on the reality of the situation. So let's keep going and seeing how we can find a little bit of resources for that. So the past, the energy you're kind of coming into this reading from, we have the Queen of Eyes, or Queen of Swords. You have worked really hard to get your ideas and to get your communication in a way that feels really good for you. I mean, we've got queen energy here, right? And you've been working maybe even on your perception and what you like put your energy into. And that doesn't mean that because things might feel a little foggy right now, that that energy is lost. It just might mean that you're going to use that information, especially since we're in these retrogrades. Hold on to that. This is the past. This is what you've been working on. It may not feel like you have these necessarily all these skills right now. It will come back around. And then where we're headed, we have the Page of Hands reversed. This is like Page of Wands reversed. So you might be wanting to start something new. And I also wonder again if this is like kind of this foggy unknown, we don't know what's going to happen. You might want to start something new and you're not sure exactly how to get it started, or you're trying to get it started and it's not quite catching. And if you may already know this, but trying to start things in a retrograde month is like never going to be like super easy, right? So just maybe also coming back to this, giving yourself a little generosity, giving yourself a little bit of space, and knowing that when the time is right, it will start to move in the direction you want it to move in. Okay, so this is us. We have the Devil. The Devil is about really connecting with the parts of yourself that feel really sticky. So we're talking about shame, we're talking about anger, we're talking about guilt, and like noticing those parts of yourself that are coming up, and you might even feel like this the devil really is like getting stuck in a cycle. Like what kind of cycles are you getting like pulled into? And again, with this Piscean energy, it's the ocean. So it's like you're getting maybe even stuck in the undertow around guilt, around shame, around anger, around these parts of yourself that feel really sticky, parts of yourself that you don't want to look at. And this Devil card is really asking you to look at it. There's two people on the Devil, and it we can't do it all on our own. It's just not realistic. So how could you, who do you need to like reach out to? And not just one person. Do you have a collection of different people that you can name this cycle that you're being stuck in? Because the way out of it is to bring it to light, and then it will lose a lot of its power. Your environment, speaking of which, I bet when I said like, who are people you can reach out to for support? And you're probably like, I don't know because our environment, we have the Three of Feet or Three of Pentacles reversed. Your support system might have be in some sort of change right now. Everyone is feeling a little bit wonky this month, right? You're feeling it. Everyone is feeling it. And so a lot of people might be asking for support from you, and you may not be able to give it to them, or you might be asking it for them, and they may not be able to give it to you. And you know what? That's okay. Again, we're going to go back to this generosity and structure right at the center of the reading. Like this is going to be our anchor. Um, we just like we're going to be a little bit more generous with ourselves and with others and know that no one's going to show up for anyone perfectly, honestly, ever, because we are beautifully imperfect human beings. And this is a big theme for this lunar eclipse because Virgo energy, what we are releasing, right? Because it's a full moon when it's not in its highest self, it has these perfectionistic tendencies. And so we are releasing having things be perfect and letting it be good enough. And yeah, maybe people aren't showing up for you perfectly. That's just the situation right now. And how can you be a little bit more generous with yourself and with others? Okay, hopes and fears. We're going to call this one fears because it's Four of Hips. There's a little apathy that's happening. And maybe this is a little bit of the Seven of Hips in our heart center, the kind of delusion, the ungroundedness in our heart. Like you might be afraid that you're going to get pulled into like an apathetic or like what's the point kind of energy. Okay, so we're gonna come back to daily routines. What is like 1 to 2 things you can do every day to feel a little bit more connected with your body, right? Maybe you touch your toes, maybe you meditate, maybe you go for a walk, right? It doesn't have to be that wild, but like come back to like little things of getting back into your body so that you can help and move forward. Okay. And then finally, we have the Six of Hands reversed. You may not be getting the recognition that you would like right now. And that kind of sucks, right? And you know what? It is what it is. It's okay. Right now, it's like this. Right now, you're not getting the recognition that you would like. And I think this is connected to everyone kind of feeling a little bit wonky these days. And so I think this is a really good time to, and I know I keep repeating the same thing, come back to your energy, come back to your support, come back to being a little bit more kind and a little bit more generous with yourself and with others. And know that you could start by giving yourself recognition. I'm really proud of myself for doing one kind thing today. I'm really proud of myself for not saying that mean thing that I wanted to say, or for saying that kind thing that I wanted to say, right? Like, what are these like little goals, little wins that you can give to yourself to feel a little bit more present? I'm sending you all the love. I do these readings usually around the new and full moon. Please follow, subscribe, all of those things so that you can stay up to date. I also have a lot of yoga classes that can support the astrology. Make sure to check out my Mercury retrograde yoga practice to feel a little bit more in your body, especially if this felt a little bit ungrounding. I love you. Keep going.